誠なるかな、摂取房の真言、調整稀有の消防、問診して治療することなかれと。How true it is, the true words embraced and not forsaken. The true Dharma, wondrous and rare. Hear and reflect, and let there be no wavering or apprehension. The passage that I'm quoting from is taken from the general preface to the Kyogyo Shinsho, which is a text that was written by Shinran Shonin that lays the foundation for Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. Today we gather to remember the life of Kujo Takeko-san, who shared her short-lived life with everyone very, very deeply in sharing her appreciation of what her life in Namu Amida Butsu is. We can say that her life was somewhat like a fairy tale. Being the daughter of the old Tani family, the head of the Honganji, her father was the head of the Japanese Buddhist Federation throughout the country. He was friends with the king of Thailand, which is a Buddhist country. And at one time, she was engaged to be married to the crown prince. And so she was actually going to become a princess. But just before all of the arrangements were made, her father took ill, and she said that she could no longer go because she needed and wanted to take care of her father. It was at that time that her older brother, who would soon after take over the head of the Honganji after his father's passing, his wife was from the Kujo family, and she decided that she wanted to introduce her younger sister-in-law to her younger brother. And through this, she became married into the Kujo family. Unfortunately, soon thereafter, he decided that he was going to go to England to study. And so all four of them took a trip to Europe to take a look at, England. And Kujo, the husband, decided to stay and began his studies. But since everyone else was already in Europe, they decided they would take a train ride across Europe. And it was there that they saw all the different types of mission work that was happening at the time. And the two sisters-in-law began to speak. And they said, we should start something like this in Japan. And this was the beginnings to the Buddhist Women's Association of Japan. In the Dharma School message, I talked about the vow of Amida Buddha, that is world surpassing. The question that I'm sure is a part of everyone's mind is, what happens when you come to hear this vow? What happens when you come to understand that life matters, that your life matters? What happens when you know that your life is fully affirmed? But before we can answer these questions, we need to first ask ourselves, how do you know that all of this has happened? How do we know that my life matters? I can just continue to say your life matters, but if this is not something that resounds with you, that resonates with you, then these are just words, really have no meaning. So how do we come to know that these words, your life matters, really is the truth? Shinran Shonin tells us that this truth is revealed to us through the Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu. And that's why we say it is that important to say. But just because we say Namu Amida Butsu doesn't really help us directly. It would be like my telling you, just go and continue to repeat, my life matters, my life matters, my life matters. And over time, eventually, you will come to know that what you are saying is, in fact, true. But this is not something that we would probably find very convincing. Where is the proof that we need to say and know for a fact that yes, I do know that my life matters? Unfortunately, this proof that is scientifically provable, that can be repeated over experiments, is nowhere to be found. And that's why faith becomes so important in our tradition, why faith was so important to Shinran Shonin. If I were to define faith, I would say that faith is a knowing that requires no proof. For example, how do you know that someone loves you? In America, we have programmed ourselves to think that you know that someone loves you when they tell you that they love you. That's why many of the dramas, the love comedies and so forth and so on, they play that up and they say, I love you. Another person says, what? He goes, don't you love me? And that kind of scene is repeated over and over and over again. But this only works if both parties accept the taboo that says you cannot say I love you unless you really mean it. If you don't care about the taboo, or if you don't even know about the taboo, then saying I love you is just 3 words, not very difficult to say at all. So how do we come to know that we are indeed loved? Many kind acts can be shared with us, but not all of them equate to love. If we began to love everyone that was kind to us, well, that would probably make this world a much, much nicer place. But the thing that we really, really want to call love would be so spread out that it wouldn't really have that much meaning or impact on us. So how do we come to know that my life has meaning and value? How do I know that my life is affirmed? Shinran Shonin says that this comes to us from hearing the name Namo Amida Butsu. And what this means is hearing the how and the why the vow of the Buddha was established for us. Again, Kujo Takeko-san began her life as Otani Takeko. And she began her life under very, very favorable circumstances. She was, for all intents and purposes, a princess. She was blessed with beauty. She was blessed with family. She was blessed with intellect and talent. Everything that you could possibly hope for. And yet, her early adult life was peppered with tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. She was supposed to marry a prince, but her father got ill and she could no longer marry to become a princess. Shortly thereafter, her father dies. But she is able to marry. Unfortunately, her new husband was perhaps jealous of his new wife. And so he abandons her by going to Europe. She tries to make the best of this. and returning to Japan with her sister-in-law, starts a Buddhist women's movement. Everything is going well, except soon thereafter, her older sister-in-law passes away. She then takes over the head of the Buddhist Women's Association, the Fujinkai. But tragically, the great earthquake in Tokyo occurs, and hundreds of thousands of people die. She is able to rally the Buddhist Women's Association to help all those in need. Her poetry is doing well, and so she donates all the proceeds of her best-selling work, Muyuge, to help fund the hospital and the free clinic. But she also ends up getting sick and dying at a very early and young age. She never meets her husband again. How do you know that your life has meaning and value? How do you know that your life is affirmed? Her life is an example of this way of living life. And because of this, we continue to remember, honor, and share her life with everyone. Each and every one of us was born under a shining star as well. We could have been born under less fortunate circumstances. We may not have even been born at all. And yet, each and every one of us has somehow been able to come across the teaching of Namo Amida Butsu. And in coming across this teaching, we are told of how a king gave up his kingdom and his throne to pursue the Buddhist path. How, upon thinking about each and every one of us, that it took this Buddha 5 kalpa of thought to come up with a vow that says, if you do not achieve the same great awakening as I do, then I will gladly give up enlightenment itself. These words resounded deeply with Shinan Shonin, and is why he gave up 20 years of practice on Mount Hiei. These are no simple words for Shinan Shonin, especially when he said that this vow was made for myself alone. He understood the responsibility that he had in hearing this vow and sharing it. Namo Amida Butsu told Shinan Shonin that not only am I willing to give up enlightenment just for you, I am willing to give up saving all others after you if I cannot save you. That is the burden and the responsibility that Shinan Shonin heard, that he understood, that he felt when he heard Namo Amida Butsu. If I cannot be saved, then everyone after me cannot be saved as well, because Amida Buddha is no longer a Buddha. All of this is happening just for me. Why should all of this happen just for me? Is this just a story that is being shared with me? Shinan Shonin would not accept that theory. He discovered that everything that unfolded in front of him had meaning and value. Everything that he experienced was helping him to understand just how precious and rare life really is. We can live a fairy tale life. That is probably what each and every one of us really wants. But if this was our life, then very few of us would come to understand and recognize just how frail and precious this life of ours really is. We would not come to understand just how big this vow of the Buddha is Were it not for how easily we can treat each other poorly, how easy it is for us to be cruel, how easy it is for us not to care. If we did not see this part of ourselves, we could not ever hope to understand just how big this promise of the Buddha for us really is. I will give up enlightenment. I will give up the ability to overcome suffering and sorrow just for you. If you cannot reach me, I will reach you, is what the vow of Abhinava Buddha is telling each and every one of us. That is how important Namo Amida Butsu is telling us that our lives really are. It is everything. We are being asked not to make the mistake to think that my life is nothing. My life is everything. And to help support this life, every other life comes in to support and share with ours. When we say Namo Amida Butsu together, this is what we are able to experience for and with each other. No life is lived in vain. This too is the message of Namo Amida Butsu. Every experience has meaning and value. Life is not easy. The Buddha said this from the very, very beginning. But just because life is not easy does not mean that it is not meaningful or valuable. To the contrary, we are being asked to see how each and every experience in our lives can be transformed and made into something beautiful, something wondrous, something precious, something rare. Our lives are the reason why the vow was established. Sharing our lives helps everyone else discover this vow for themselves as well. Sharing this truth in and of itself is meaningful and valuable. And this is a life that we are allowed to live and to share. It is no wonder why we continue to say that Namo Amida Butsu is an expression of gratitude and appreciation. Because when we come to discover that my life is completely affirmed, what else can we do but to express our joy and to share this joy with others? This is the Nembutsu life. This is the life that we continue to recognize and share when we remember the life of Kujo Takeko or the life of anyone of the Nembutsu. Whenever we hold a funeral service, a memorial service, these experiences too are meant to help us to share this life, to remind us that every life has meaning and value, and in particular, my own. With this thought,